Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. Day late this week. Just couldn't put my thoughts together yesterday. Put my thoughts together today. Here we are. Pardon my intrusively huge drinking vessel today, but it is full of coffee, so it's helping me process. When you are running a role-playing game, dungeon mastering, game mastering, storytelling, what have you, uh, there's a lot of, shall we call it, stuff out there. A lot of rules you need to remember, a lot of different elements of the game that you kind of have at a moment's notice. And that's just the infrastructure. Then there's your own adventure or whatever you're running and being familiar with the module or the story that you've written and the different NPCs that people are meeting, the stuff you make up off the top of your head when your players go off the beaten track. There's a lot of stuff. This is one of the most important books to the dungeon master playing Dungeons and Dragons, particularly 5th edition. There's a lot of stuff in here. I've read this book cover to cover. I've read this book cover to cover multiple times. I do not remember what is in this book. I rarely remember what is in this book. I have a general subject knowledge reference of it in my head, but not page by page, chapter and verse. I don't have that kind of a memory. I know the stuff that I like, and I know that I've got to read between those every so often to find new stuff where I start to get repetitive. I don't remember everything in here. I don't remember everything in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I certainly don't remember everything in the Player's Handbook because there's just an awful lot. Again, I've read these books cover to cover. I've read these books cover to cover multiple times. Often, not all in one sitting. I'll be playing a new character, and I'll pick up a new class, something I haven't tried that often before, and I'll exhaustively read through that, get all the information, pluck it out, do page layout to put my character together so that I get it locked in there a little bit better. So I've got to engage with the information. Am I going to remember this when someone else plays one of those? Heck no, I'm not. Because every character, there's all these different options, and you can go one path or another once you hit that third level, and you get your subclass, and it's wonderful, but there's a lot of stuff. And that's just the stuff that's in the first 3 books that I've got. I also have Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Xanathar's Guide to Everything. I've got my copy of Spelljammer shows up on Thursday, a couple of days from now. That's exciting. I've got the books that have the enhanced stuff in it. I had to pick up Sword Coast Adventurer Guide, so I had a good copy of the Swashbuckler subclass for the Rogue. I don't remember most of this stuff. And as a player, you can pull up that page and a D&D wiki. Beyond's got some good pages on that stuff, believe it or not. And okay, I've got that page, or I bookmark a page, maybe a couple. If I've got spells I need to remember, well, I might bookmark the pages with some of the key spells on it with the very long descriptions, because I'm not going to remember all those. But playing, I've got a very small amount of information that I'm in charge of. But when I'm playing, I am in charge of my information. I pull out a spell, I got to know what that spell does, what its limitations are, how long does it take to cast, what's its range, can I actually hit that from here, does it affect one person, is it by touch? I need to know my stuff. And if that means that I'm looking it up in the game, I'm looking it up in the game. And if that slows things down a little bit, well, there's a lot of stuff. I could print out a reference and do some extra typing. That's a lot of prep work and a lot of time. And I will for characters that are really just focused around that stuff. But if that's not the main focus of the character, I'll be reading stuff during the game. Happens. But again, that's a fairly small amount of information to be in charge of. This is my general rule when I am running a game. I am in charge of absolutely everything but your characters. And I might need to stop and reference something while I am running. I'll try to minimize that. I have a pretty good grasp on, let's say, most of the mechanics in D&D 5th edition. I certainly have a grasp on the most commonly used mechanics. I know how to roll for success or determine failure or see if that's a critical success, house rule my critical damage. I have an idea of how spell casting is done in general, that there's going to be a roll to hit or a roll to resist on the other side. And if I've got a villain or an NPC who is using spells like this or using effects or has a particular special weapon, I'll know what those do. I'll have that ready. Or if I don't have it exactly ready, I've got a bookmark. When I'm the dungeon master, that is the rest of the world I got. You got to have your character. I am not going to tell you what your character can and can't do. That is a couple of reasons. One, as a dungeon master, I might give some suggestions for what a character might be able to do if I see a player struggling. And if I'm running the game right, maybe I'm looking for some struggle here and there. But I'll keep those suggestions to myself unless they seem absolutely necessary to progress the storyline and to progress everyone's game playing experience. Short of that, I don't want to take away not a moment of the player's agency. The player is there to make decisions for how the character is going to act. I do not want to be involved in that decision on that side of the table. I might offer guidance, suggestions, list the options in front of them. I might editorialize a little bit, make some of those options seem less lethal than some of the others, but that when that comes time for that choice to be made, that's not my choice. I don't want it to be my choice. I want to influence that choice as little as possible. I want the player to feel like they are genuinely controlling the actions and guiding the fate and destiny of this character. That's one reason that I keep myself on my side of the table and you are in charge of your character. The other reason, I do not have time to memorize your character. I do not have time to have all those references over here. I do not have the brain power to, oh, well, you're a 6th level cleric with a heavy peace domain there. I don't know. I don't have your spell list. I don't want your spell list. I don't want your character in front of me. I don't need a copy of your character. You are going to tell me everything I need to know about your character. I'm going to be asking on a regular basis. I might couch it as, let's review for a moment. Can you tell me exactly what Phantasmal Force does? Or I will say flat out, okay, you've cast Phantasmal Force. What do I roll and what does that do? Just as if I was a player and a dungeon master had an NPC cast that spell on me, I'd need to know what was going on. Wow, what do I roll? What happens? I treat it exactly the same if I'm on the other side of the table. You've got vicious mockery going. Well, what are you going to say? What do I roll? How much damage is that? And I know that there are purist DMs and dungeon masters and game masters in other systems who really devote themselves to having a subject level mastery of the game. And I think I was looking for that phrase earlier. And I applaud that. That is a wonderful way to address that speed of play, having that recall. A couple of reasons I don't do that. One, I don't have that kind of brain. Maybe I used to. Maybe I used to back in the days when I wrote my own role-playing game, which I still can't keep up. I still cannot keep track of everything in my role-playing game. I still need people when they're playing to tell me what their stuff does when they announce that they're using it. And it's a little confusing at times because didn't you write this? Yeah, I wrote this, but I wrote an awful lot of stuff, and my brain doesn't hold all that, not all at once. So my brain just doesn't have the capacity to retain subject matter mastery of uh, of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And it's and the Spelljammer shows up on Thursday. God knows what shows up next, Dragonlance maybe. And I can't retain all that. I'm going to read these books cover to cover. Love the Spelljammer setting. Love that they've incorporated a bunch of stuff from Star Frontiers. Really looking forward to digging into it. Am I going to remember all of it? Yeah, no. I'm going to have some highlights in here. Some stuff's going to spike me. I'll make some notes, but am I going to retain all the information in that book? No, that's why I still have the book. So one is brain power. I do not have the brain power to retain everything in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Second reason, editions don't last forever. There's already one D&D is the next concept coming out. They're going to abandon editions and go to something that is just more morphic and flows and evolves over time, as instead of having these different divides between from edition to edition. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'll have to do a deep dive on that one later. But they're already looking at the next thing from this, where mechanics might change, rules might change, the artwork, the characters, the available monsters, what is and isn't a player character, all that stuff. Flipped on zero. And even given that they're trying to keep it with a backwards compatible and forward moving format that is going to be the best thing that anyone could ever continue to evolve in, as opposed to putting in another edition, it's going to be changing. It's going to be changing, and if I do not have the mental capacity to get subject mastery of one edition, I might have been close with 3.5, maybe. At the very least, the mechanical stuff I might have had down that well. I ran a feck ton of GURPS, Steve Jackson Games Generic Universal Role Playing System. I ran that for years. 3rd edition, ran it for conventions, 4-hour games, 3 a day over a 3-day weekend, just one after the other, after the other, after the other. And then did campaigns between those, maybe 2 or 3 campaigns at the same time, this group and that group. I ran that into the ground. I still will need to find a page reference for falling damage. Thank God that Steve Jackson Games believes in exhaustively indexing their books. Looking at you, TSR, or Wizards, your indexes suck. Just saying. Sorry, editorialize. I have played as much D&D as I played, as much my own game I played. I think I've played GURPS more than I've played any other single system ever, and there's a rule for everything, and I don't know them all. And then they came out with a new edition of that, which changed a whole bunch of stuff, and I will never try to memorize anything in 4th edition GURPS. It's just curse of the 4th edition. No 4th edition is worth my memory. World of Darkness. World of Darkness's core rule book, worth my memory. Everything else in 4th edition, not so much. I'll make it up from the other stuff. So I don't memorize this stuff. I don't go to the effort of scholastically, academically mastering this material because I can't. And because I don't think I should have to. This is a collaborative activity after all, and absolutely everyone can have that book open in front of them, and I encourage them to do so. And if you got to research a little bit in the middle of the game, research in the middle of the game. That is fine. Your turn is coming up. You see the situation. That guy's just gone down. This guy can't hit to save his life. You got a spell list. You got a few minutes while everyone else is making their rolls and resolving their stuff and seeing, maybe one of your spells will do something for this. Have a look at a couple of them. See what they are. Post-it makes the whatever company makes Post-its. They make the Post-it flags, little bookmarks you can take out, just put down, make them in multiple colors, and maybe dot some of those around for the spells you keep looking up over and over again, or the battle master maneuvers that you keep going back to, or just the page of maneuvers for the battle masters. If you're making a lot of characters, maybe backgrounds and feats if you're using those optional rules, which I love. And a little tab there, equipment, always handy. You're going to make your book like a porcupine by the time you're done with it, but at least you'll know where stuff is. Speed up your reference. Gameplay goes a little bit faster. And is some of this just compensating for my brain that doesn't retain this information? Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes, it is. And it works fairly well. Because there's something that happens when you play this way. When you run across that rule, that thing from a subclass, that spell, that maneuver, that something, wow, that person has said they're going to do this thing. Could you tell me what that thing does, please? Or could you remind us what that does? What do I need to roll? What kind of damage are you doing? Let me know. That ability to express part of the character's ability, that time where you get to say what your character can do. And it might just come out as a nice flat dissertation, a reading of the rule verbatim. There might be a little emotion behind it as you're excited for what's about to happen, or a little trepidation because maybe this will work, maybe it won't. There's a lot writing on it. Never, ever rely on a use of the blink spell. Not as written in 5th edition. Just, man, I'll just cast blink and it'll save my life. No, it won't. It just won't. Ugh. And don't take up any spell slots with Blade Ward. It just, sorry, editorializing again. When you get to say what it is your character can do, when you verbalize that to the table and the dungeon master, you gain a little bit more insight. You always do. There's always just a little something. You pick up a word or a phrase or a meaning you hadn't. And if you don't, someone else at the table might. The dungeon master is certainly going to pick up on that. And I like to, reward good uses of this stuff with, well, better chance for success. Maybe I'll give you advantage on that if it seems like a really good idea. Or maybe that turns out to be a little bit more effective. This thing doesn't necessarily have to have that particular resistance. It's an option, and I option not to use it. So you can reward that idea, that concept, and that bringing that knowledge to the table. When you're not the only person quoting rules at a table, when the dungeon master isn't the only person who is talking about what the book says happens here, it binds that table together. Everyone gets a little taste of that verisimilitude. They get to add to what the feeling of that joint experience is at the table. It's taking a little bit of ownership over the game. It's taking a bit of ownership over the portion of the game that encompasses your character. And that's the most important thing at the table. What I do as a dungeon master is give these characters opportunity to do stuff. I provide a setting, they provide a story. I give them some opposition, they give me acts of heroism and courage and cowardice and comedy and tragedy that I can't get anywhere else. It's worth taking a little bit to reference, to read the rules, make sure we're all on literally the same page. And that just makes it better for everyone. Well, thanks for following me along in this particular ramble. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you did enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. I'd like to hear how you handle things like this. If you have a mastery over the knowledge of the edition you're working with, or if you are free to referencing at the table and encouraging other people to reference with you. Stuff you'd like to hear me talk about, questions you'd like to hear me answer, leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Yeah, I'd ask you to hit the subscribe button. If you do hit the subscribe button, you might also want to hit the little notification bell so you're made aware when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is What Is Matter to Me. I will see you next time on the next Matters of Decorum.